Welcome to another Gamercast with the NES Club. I'm Rob McCallum. With me is Jay Bartlett.
What's up, my brother? How's it going?
Doing well. And of course, producing this piece of technology is Glenn Stanway.
Greetings and salutations.
Okay, so I just want to get to a few updates on the film really quickly. We recently filmed the last chapter with Jay, which is really nice, and 8 months later, if you will. That was really kind of fun because we got to go back on the road like the spirit of the rest of the film. Jay, any quick thoughts? No spoilers?
Yeah, I want to go back. That was a lot of fun. I forgot how much I missed it. It's the job I wish I could do all the time.
We traveled to a few different places, but I got to tell you, the biggest thing I noticed was it didn't quite seem as long as it looked on paper what we did for the quick weekend that we were hanging out versus the 30 days where we're constantly driving. So that was kind of a nice, refreshing feeling.
It's weird. I mean, I wasn't doing any of the driving, so, forgive me if I say this, but North America doesn't seem that big. It really doesn't. We've gone from one end to the other a couple times. Now, you know what? I could sleep through it all.
So with that section being filmed, it means we get to finally finish up the editing, and once that's done, we'll be sending it to our lawyers for legal approval so we don't get sued by anybody. We think we got a pretty good case for fair use and all that. The other thing with regards to the film is we got a few conventions to announce. We've been officially approved for a panel at the Forest City Comic-Con in London, Ontario on October 19th, our hometown. And we're looking like we got a panel, not 100%, but definitely a presence, it seems, possibly, at the Classic Gaming Expo, CGE, which is in Las Vegas, mid-September this year. So that's really exciting. This episode is going to focus a lot on Q&A, which is cool that we're actually getting a big enough audience that people are submitting a lot of questions. And before I get to the questions, I actually got 2 messages sent to us. Not really questions, but more statements and what they think about the show. So I wanted to read those out to you guys if I could.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Very cool, yeah.
I'm going to try to leave out the last names as I usually do, just in case anybody gets embarrassed or anything like that. Obviously, these people will know who they are. The first message is from Daniel, and he says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know that after you followed my Twitter site, I started to follow along with your movie and what it was all about. Being an NES fan my whole life, I was a collector since I was 5. I had over 100 games, which is nothing to some collectors, but to me, it was my baby. Sadly, when I was moving out one of my first apartments, my whole entire collection was stolen, along with the NES my grandmother bought for me when I was 5. After that loss, I was so devastated for so long and didn't play or buy any more NES games. Only up until recently did I start to play NES again after I started my retro gaming blog and started following the scene more on Twitter. I went out and got myself an NES and a copy of Tetris. After that, I bought maybe 3 games. Then I saw what you guys were doing, and it inspired me to get my together and get back to where I was before I lost all my games years ago. And since seeing your movie trailer, I have 47 games and counting, all quality titles to start with. I'll fill in the other ones after I'm done getting back all the ones I lost. To make a long story short, thanks for the inspiration to get back into collecting."
Wow, good for you, Daniel. That's quite a touching story, man. It's great that we've influenced a few people. Makes me happy.
That is, in fact, pretty awesome, and I guess I'll just add, welcome aboard, Daniel. Good to have you, and we're glad you dig what everybody's doing here.
Yeah, I mean, that's really awesome that he reached out, and, something as simple as what we call a fun little summer together, and, these ongoing chats we're having as the Gamercast is cool enough that this guy's like, you know what, yeah, I can do this, and whatever we're doing is helping him, so, keep sharing it with everybody else who knows who else it will help. And, yeah, like you said, Glenn, welcome to the club. The next message is from Ian, or maybe it's Ian. I'm not sure. I'm going to say it's Ian. I'm going to take a risk here. He says, "I have to say I've never been a fan of podcasts very much, as I always found them to be a lot of loud, unbalanced chat, usually with too many people talking. But I've been listening to Rob's material, and I can honestly say for the first time I have enjoyed it. Good topics, well thought out, and clear delivery. The feelings I had built up about podcasts generally in the past were dispelled when I listened to yours. It's concise, well-paced, and not cluttered. It feels like I'm in the discussion, and what you don't realize is that although you're doing is discussing, it's very hard to make that a natural experience for onlookers. But you do, and I found my peace with it." So
Wow.
That's what Ian had to say. So a guy
That's
who...
awesome, Ian. Thanks.
yeah, a guy who doesn't like podcasts, whatever we're doing seems to work for him. And, I feel like we're reading our fan mail on air here and patting ourselves on the back. But, it just goes to show that little things like this can make a difference and, bring people together. So that's kind of what the film's about. And I'm glad that the podcasts that we're doing are having that same kind of effect. So in my notes here, I have something that I'm even questioning right now, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Let's take a risk. I thought we could do a fan challenge and see how that turns out. We'll maybe keep it going for a few episodes, but challenge the fans to send us some fan art. Just little pictures, however they want to kind of create it, whether it's digital or hand-drawn or something like that. And, the winners that we pick, we'll send some NES Club prize pack goodies. So, send us your pics, drawings, digital renderings, whatever you want.
That's a great idea. Are we talking like hand-drawn or pretty much like anything goes?
I think pretty much anything goes. Hand-drawn, like I said, digital renderings.
Okay,
paint,
what about
Windows Paint?
What about action figures? I want an action figure.
I think if somebody were to go all the way and create an NES Club J action figure, that would be pretty cool, and it would be hard to deny a top prize. No pressure on anyone out there. No pressure.
That's a dream. To see myself on a package on somebody's wall someday. That's my dream.
I will also go on record as saying I usually like to change up the podcast artwork for the post to Podomatic. So if I had anything else I could use as ammunition for that, that'd be great. So I would really love to see some fan art.
Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe the top 10 automatically get a rotation in there, assuming they waive all their legal rights to us using their creation.
That'd be
can
sweet.
Can you tell I'm on a big legal kick and a little worried about submitting the film to the lawyer?
I hadn't noticed, really, but...
Objection! Sustained. Okay. On to the questions. The first one comes from the guys at Narc Podcast, which Jay and I were happy to be guests on. They say, what are your thoughts on NES Remix 2? Do you think it will create a new interest in NES carts or the hobby in general? I guess you could probably qualify NES Remix as well. And I think this kind of extends maybe just to virtual console retro releases. What do you guys think, though, specifically about NES Remix 2 first? And their question, do you think it'll create interest in carts or hobbies?
I haven't had a chance to play it hands-on. I understand you've played both of them, right? Rob, you've played both?
Yeah, I've got both.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, take me through it. It's just little chunks of what the original black box games, and it'll be like, get Link to the end of the level in like 10 seconds or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's
like
almost kind of like the Mario Party WarioWare minigames.
WarioWare stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but with the classic NES titles, all like the first party stuff. So it's a lot of the black box stuff, but you've got Rad Racer in there too. And NES Remix 2 has Mario 3 and Punch-Out, and they even have like a kind of mini section where it's almost recreating the Nintendo World Championships like scenario.
I think Nintendo, they're doing what they do best, and that's going for the whole nostalgia trip. They're really, really good at doing that. Whether it kicks up the hobby a notch or two, I can't say for sure. It's pretty red hot now. I can't see it getting any hotter, but it's definitely not going to hurt it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to kind of see it expanding all that much. I don't think anybody that hasn't played Mario 3 will play it on NES Remix 2 and then all of a sudden decide to go buy the cart. Because the games they include are such landmarks, I think most people that have those titles are the ones that are buying the remix for the sake of experiencing them in a different way to begin with. So what I think it will do is uptick game playing on retro titles specifically, maybe, or create this kind of hobby where people are interested in playing NES Remix 2 specifically because of their existing love. I don't know. Glenn?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play it either. I'm a Wii U owner and enthusiast, and I haven't had an opportunity to play it. I think it's an interesting idea. I got kind of the impression that it was the sort of thing you just described, Robert, was kind of like WarioWare with kind of classic titles sort of mixed all together. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great way to keep those franchises in people's minds, and I think it's a good way to help reintroduce some of those older characters for when they eventually want to roll a special character out for a Smash Brothers or something along those lines. I think it's a good way for them to sell those games on Virtual Console, which I think it's almost like a neat little demo reel of some of the stuff you can actually buy the full versions of on Virtual Console. But I think if that gets some of those people who maybe strayed away from the classic games back into them, and it inspires the Daniels of the world to maybe go back out and grab those games again, great. I'm all for it. I think it's a really cool idea.
I think it would be cool if Nintendo just made a direct sequel to any of these games in the 8-bit style. Even if there's nowhere to distribute it, obviously, they're not going to make an NES cart in this year, but even if they made a sequel to Balloon Fighter Ice Climber and put it on the Virtual Console in the 8-bit style, I think that would be awesome. I mean, if they can do this, they can do that. You know what I mean?
I definitely think it's a smart strategy. I'm getting a little wary of how much they're pushing nostalgia a little bit. I just picked up Mario Golf for the 3DS, and a lot of I don't want to say loading screens, but there are various screens that are like showing like the original Super Mario Brothers and stuff like that. And at first I used to get really excited about Nintendo, referencing their past and including that kind of stuff. But now it feels like such a plug to have that included in so many games. I even think Super Mario 3D World had a bunch of 8-bit references, like you could play like the original Mario Brothers as Luigi instead, since it was Year Luigi. So that kind of stuff feels like a bit of a plug in, like a huge cash cow. But NES Remix definitely feels a little more an authentic experience and an excuse to play these games in a new light, almost challenging you as a gamer in a fun way. So I'm thumbs up on it. I think it'll definitely at least spark conversation.
I think the little parts with the Mario load screens and stuff, it's kind of just reminding us why we love Nintendo. I don't think they're doing it to cash in. I mean, they're just saying, hey, remember why we're awesome. We're still awesome, but maybe you need a little kick in the pants.
Or, hey, remember when we used to make tons of great games like these ones here? Oh, now you see it. Now you can't have it. That's kind of what it feels like to me now. It's like, oh, man, I wish I was playing that game instead of the one that I am playing.
Yeah, I mean,
how I feel.
I don't want to get into the whole Wii U thing. I definitely think it's a great system, but they need to make more than one Mario game, one Mario Kart game, and etc. They need to have multiples of and Metroid again. Yeah, Glenn, Metroid.
Star Fox.
But what are they waiting for? Do you know what I mean? Like, what else are they doing besides developing new hardware? Which that again, I don't agree with Sega.
Well, what do they have? Like 8 major franchises, I guess. I mean, okay, let's try to name them on the show, and this will probably shoot all our credibility on Nintendo when we lose one. They got Mario, Zelda, Mario Kart, of course. They've got Metroid, Star Fox, Kirby, Smash Brothers. So that's like 7, right? Donkey Kong, 8. What else am I missing?
Kid Icarus.
Yeah, but they haven't had a Kid Icarus one on every platform, right? It's almost more recent that they've done that. So let's stick with those 8. It's 2 years in, and we still haven't got all of those fulfilled. If you were to take one of those and release them every quarter, you know what I mean? You'd have
they do
success.
They do that. There was Mario 3D World, then there was Donkey Kong, and now we got Mario Kart coming out at the end of May. But my point is, if the life cycle of a console is now 6 to 7 years, don't give me one Mario Kart for 7 years. I mean, I'm not crapping on it because Mario Kart's awesome, but, they're not that hard to make. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but their excuse with Mario Kart now specifically is like, why would we make another whole Mario Kart when you can just buy download packs from us?
Yeah, but Nintendo and online do not mix. They just don't, and I don't think they ever will. Nintendo works with a console and 4 controllers and 1 TV, you know what I'm saying? That's when they really shine. Not
3 Wiimotes and 1 gamepad?
Well, I could take your gamer code down, but I don't have a piece of paper big enough to write all the digits,
I think that they've invented a new language for some of those gamer codes, because I saw symbols that I've never seen before.
Sorry, friend code. Friend code, I apologize.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Point is, they're probably using hieroglyphs at this point. The next question, awkward segue, is on price trending. Basically kind of like the rise and fall of video game prices. Are they like the stock market? It's from our friend Ian again. I don't know if it happens in your country because you guys have more stock than my tiny little island, but I notice games will shoot up in price for a while, then drop back down. Before I go to sleep every night, I check out NES, TurboGrafx, Mega Drive games on eBay just in case anything interesting has popped up. One I noticed is currently Track and Field 2. Now, 6 months ago, complete in box, mint, it would be £10. So he's obviously in England. Now, a loose card is £20. Crazy. Mario Brothers 2 is always around £25, but a few weeks ago I saw several for $15. It's weird. It just might relate to how people, what they currently want and what their habits. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna let
Jay, the
figure
rise
it
and fall of video game prices.
I think
Yeah.
every single game retro is on the rise. It's never been hotter than it is now. Everything, and I do mean everything, has gone up. When shooting this, last summer, we were kind of making a joke of it, Rob, where every single store we went to, we wanted to grab a copy of Black Box Golf because we saw so many of them. Until we noticed they were $10 to $15 each. We thought they were going to be like $1 each. And, we're going to gather them all and make like a couch out of it or something at the end. But once we saw they were $10 to $15, we're like, yeah, no, we're good. And don't even get me started on turbo stuff. I mean, it's one of my favorite systems. And even the basic sports games on TurboGrafx are $20, $30 US.
But I think there's something. The one thing that we noticed, I should say, is that there is very much a regional influence. We would be in some parts, and Mario Duck Hunt would be like $5. In other parts, it would be like 15, and they'd have 20 on the shelves. And that was a game that during the second road trip we didn't bring along with us because we're getting games and stuff, and we'll just play kind of what we get. But it was like, you know what, the numbers are getting down. Let's play a classic game, and I couldn't bring myself to pay $15 for that game because of how widely available it is in some of these places, and yet they still want that kind of money. So I think there's definitely a regional variance on top of the cyclical, over the course of time variance as well.
The other thing I would wonder is if Ian's in the UK, I wonder if that has anything to do with like NTSC versus PAL or formats or anything like that. I don't know if you guys know differences in terms of like rarity of like a PAL cart versus an NTSC or what have you.
The NTSC tend to be a lot more rare unless it's a PAL exclusive, like we're talking like a game like Banana Prince that never came here. Then that game's worth a ton. But what do you think, Rob? I don't know. I've glanced at the PALs, but I haven't done too much hardcore research on it.
Well, I mean, the NES equivalents released in PAL territories seem to be a bit pricier in Europe. So, like, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles over there, which is Ninja Turtles over here. I kid you not, it's Hero Turtles.
Never heard of them.
Hero Turtles.
Yeah. That seems to go for a bit higher than we would pay. And the Australian version, which has like the silver Konami box and is referred to Ninja Turtles down there, like the silver box, like Castlevania style, that seems to be like super expensive in contrast too. So in that case, the NTSC one is much cheaper than the PAL ones. But what Ian is talking about here seems to be like very minor cyclical changes. Like he's saying like 1 week it's this or 1 month it's that. I've never seen anything that crazy. I mean, there's always going to be outliers where things are super cheap or super high, but I don't think I've seen anything quite like he's expressing.
The rare games are the rare games, and that's never going to change. They're always expensive. But I have seen Mario 2, Mario 3 go for $20, $30 here. Which they're obviously what made the NES what they are, but during this thing I wasn't going to pay $20 or $30 for Mario 2 and Mario 3. There's just no way. Not taking away from the game, but the game is so mass produced and so common. I knew somewhere we'd find it for $1 or $2,
I also just want to go on record as saying that I really hope there's an NES Club sequel where you guys have to go get enough black box golf carts to make a couch. I think that's
that's what a great idea, man. That's a great idea.
It'd be a great idea if one of our participants in the film wasn't already trying to save up his extra carts to make one. Sid Bolton is trying to do that with his NES doubles. So I don't know how much Sid would like that, but maybe he can send us on a quest.
Well, we'll get
20,000.
We'll do like the sectional. We'll do the sectional couch, and he could do the regular couch.
We'll do the NES living room. That's what we'll do. The recliner. So, the next question comes from Martin. He asks, "Are any gaming franchises safe from being turned into a movie, and which one could be great?"
Oh, I don't think anything is safe at this point. Obviously, people have been dying for a Zelda movie. I mean, there's been so many different teases. There's been fan-made ones that are just incredible. I think a Zelda movie would be my vote. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't think it's like the market is exactly flooded with video game movies at present. I mean, there's a lot of really terrible.
There was at a time though, not now.
Third rate, yeah. Like we Bowl movies and stuff.
Ugh.
I think an animated Zelda movie would be incredible. I don't know about live action, but I think there's definitely
It's tough. It's like with the superhero movies, like with guys like Wolverine and Colossus that don't necessarily have a mask all the time. It's really tough for me to look at them and see an actor instead of the comic book characters. So I think you're right. If you did a CG or a cartoon Zelda, I think it'd work a lot better than a live action one.
I think the one movie
wasn't Sam Raimi doing the Warcraft one? I mean that's old hat now, but is that still going on? Because
Warcraft's still in development, but it's in development. But he's off the project. There's another guy who's doing it. I forget the individual's name, but I believe it's the director who did a great indie film called Moon. I believe he's the one in charge of Warcraft now.
Moon actually is a great film.
Yeah, it's a great kind of sci-fi homage, still being its own unique thing. But if there's any gaming franchises that might be safe from being turned into a movie, I think Mario will probably never be a movie again.
Tetris.
No, because there's Tetris documentaries, right? I don't think that counts.
I
do, because it tells the story of Tetris.
What about stadium events? I can't see that ever becoming a film.
Oh, you just watch it. It'll come.
I don't know. I want to see the buddy cop comedy where two Tetris pieces are I don't know, getting talked down to by their chief because they don't obey the rules or something.
Well, there you go. You just gave away the pitch of the century. And the big final act will be them trying to fall into a Mission Impossible.
You should write that,
pit, and they gotta curve their way.
You should start writing.
I remember John Woo being attached to a Metroid movie at one point a few years back too, and being terrified about the prospect of Metroid trying to be made into a movie.
Well, you see, that's the one film I think game that could be great as a great film. Metroid and Castlevania, right? They've tried to do Castlevania or the Vampire Hunter different ways, but if they were to do it kind of like a lot of the adult stuff that's coming out, like since like Symphony of the Night, I disagree. I think it could be good.
I disagree with the Metroid. Castlevania, yeah, but Metroid, I don't think so.
Metroid could be great. Hollywood is always looking for a female hero in space with technology. They're looking for the next Ripley big time.
But that doesn't
we saw that with
mean
Prometheus.
It'll be a good story, right? I mean,
no, I'm saying it could be great. Which film could be great?
If you write it, it might stand a chance. But
I don't know about that.
I think some of the more modern stuff could actually translate to film pretty easily, just because so many of the newer games are story driven anyway. So I know David Hayter's been talking about trying to get a Metal Gear movie made for ages, and I think
easy.
He can conceivably
that's
make
a good
Metal
one.
Gear movie work.
Metal Gear, Halo, Call of Duty, easy, very.
I think a Kirby film could work in a Pixar animated style somehow. I think that could be interesting. I'll go out alone.
That's a really good idea, actually.
Well, I'm going to end on a high note and go to the next question. Angela asks, collecting nightmares. What are some collecting nightmares you've experienced? I followed up with her, and she said, any thoughts to games that you pass up on, or the next time you visit a shop and they're gone? Mainly, what have you done to get that game that you didn't do the first time? Does it become more desirable because something bad happened the first experience? So that's what she means by collecting nightmares. So what horror stories do you have with regards to collecting? Have you guys ever had... Sorry, I was going to say, have you guys ever had like a collectible and something happened to it after you got it home or anything crazy like that? Like water fell on it or a dog chewed it or something?
I had one of my cats broke not particularly expensive Starscream figure, but I'd only owned it for about 2 days, so I was pretty upset by that. I think it's an awesome question because I can see like Jay's literally like rubbing his eyes and thinking because you can tell it's like getting the gears turning in his head.
I mean, I don't have anything relating to games. I do have a very expensive Star Wars piece that I lost, but it has nothing to do with.
Does it have anything to do with Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Never heard of him. No. Let me think. No.
Well, tell me about your other thing, because that'll buy me time to think about mine.
I had an original Episode 2 Attack of the Clones poster that was actually hung in a theater. It was a theatrical poster, and I had it put in a frame, and I was still living at my mom's at the time, and I brought it home and I put it down. I set it on the floor so it was leaning against the wall. And my dog Spencer was still pretty little, and he walked up and he did a pee-pee on it. And it went through the glass, and the whole bottom of it was soaked and ruined. That one cost me almost $300, I think. So I was not happy. Yeah.
Well, my biggest collecting nightmare, and I should have known better, I guess, from everything that we talk about it. I purchased Little Samson on eBay.
Oh,
it wasn't
here we
even
go.
just Little Samson. It was Little Samson and DuckTales 2 on eBay. The pictures were good, a little blurry, but, nothing that was crazy. It looked legit and all that stuff, and I got it. And as soon as I got it in the mail, within seconds, my entire body was filled with panic. Because getting
Why
DuckTales
was
2
that?
and Little Samson together wasn't cheap. Filled with panic because although the labels looked right, and you could tell even when I took a picture of them with my phone that it looked legit, you could see that it was not the printed material. So here I had spent several $100s, over $500 for these two cards, and I had two counterfeit cards in my hand. And as I tried to resolve this dispute, I was getting death threats and stalker-like comments. Oh, have fun here in this, because this guy had been found out who I was on Twitter, and he accused me of being a gamer. I was like, oh, you doing this? Is this part of your film, Hot Shot? Well, I guess you just got burned, and there were some serious kind of things happening because of this. So eventually, eBay saw all this stuff, told me I should call the cops on this guy. I knew that he was traveling, and that's why he wouldn't be able to get back in touch with me, and this, that, and the other. But everything worked out because of PayPal and the way that eBay works. So I got it all back. But yeah, man, talk about learning a lesson. Thoughts?
At what point is your life so pathetic that you're sitting there making bootleg labels for a rare NES game and trying to pull them off to make a quick buck? Seriously, I asked that question. Like, to me that is ridiculous. All these guys making these fake labels, putting them on reproduction carts and trying to pass them off as the real thing. It really annoys me.
I want to know what the actual games were.
They were the games. So they were either flash carts. I didn't take them apart because I didn't want it to look like I tampered with them. They didn't have pictures of the boards on the auction. So they could have been the legit thing and somebody printed their own labels because maybe the original labels were gone. But, once they were like kind of, deemed completely counterfeit, if you start messing around with them, that's all that the seller needs to say, oh no, he switched these and he's trying to give me something bad. So I put them, in the mail that like within an hour of getting them, like signed kind of, sealed delivery and all that stuff so that there would be nothing coming back on me. I took pictures of everything, had them all in our eBay conversations. And it was quite a panic attack.
And that was the last
time.
I
knew what.
I was going to say that was the last time that you ever bought anything that rare off eBay. Because unless you're there in person, do you know what I mean? Like, you never know what you're going to get.
Oh, yeah.
At least you got your money back, though, man. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I was never really worried about the money. It was just the process and the headaches and the way that this guy was responding to the fact that these are fake games. So I don't know if he got fooled or something like that, and now he realizes that, it's a domino effect. I mean, I'm not going to call the guy out. I'm going to call him out. But, it was just the hassle to deal with it. I mean, there was no way that I wasn't going to, get my money back.
The fact that you receive death threats or whatever, and that his back came up so quickly against you tells him he was lying right off the bat. Like, why would he be so defensive? You know what I mean?
It's too bad there wasn't a grading system in place to help you protect your investment for years to come.
Oh, here we go.
But I wouldn't have bought it if there was a grading system in place, because that wouldn't have been fun. That wouldn't have been fun.
You know how to push the button.
Panic attack was much more fun.
Here come the button pushers.
It was. That's an adventure. That's a story I can share. If I would have bought a graded game, it would have been boring, and you wouldn't have heard it right now. Now we had fun at my expense, so let's move on. John asks, have you ever planned a video game-based road trip outside the NES Club film premise? Will you after the film? That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on a number of factors. I think Rob and I would both love to do something else. I think that's.
But will you plan like a road trip just around gaming, not filming or anything like that, but will you plan a trip to go to A and C for the day, or
Yeah,
wherever?
I've done that.
Or-
I've done that since I was old enough to drive. Since I was 18, 20 years old.
I know we've talked casually. It's been a while, but I know we've talked casually about making like arcade road trips and stuff like that. Like taking a weekend and driving down to the States and hitting an old arcade or various destinations.
To answer your question, John. Yeah, I mean, I do that every single weekend. Now going into the States and stuff like that, I would love to come and visit. All the stores that we filmed in the trip. I love to go back and say hi to everyone and see what they got in their collections. See if they got any TurboGrafx games, which are rarer and rarer as time goes. But yeah, man, I've always done it, and I'm going to keep doing it. It's like what I do.
Yeah, I'd love to tour a part of the country that we didn't go on for the NES Club to see who we can meet along the way and what we can find. And like, we never got to hit the West Coast, so I think it would be great, if you guys were to come to Vegas, hit the stores here, but then just go all the way up California and then back down through Utah. I think that would be a blast.
Well, I'll be there in September, man, so we can work out something then. Maybe we can do a little tour. I'd love to do that.
Well, see what happens when people ask questions. This is great. The next one is from Jeff, and this is along the lines of advice. Okay, so this one's kind of good. He goes, "Hi fellas, my girlfriend isn't into games, and to be honest, I'm not sure she's technically my girlfriend. Though, of course, that's my goal, but here's the problem. I love games, all eras, but mainly stuff after PS2, though I like 64 with friends. She's not a gamer or into games, so what should I do? Do I hide or downplay my hobby?
Oh, God.
Try to show her games she might like, or just ignore it and hope it doesn't become a big deal."
I'm sorry, what was his name?
So, his name is Jeff. So he's kind of on the fence maybe about her being his girlfriend to begin with. So it's not like it's a done deal, so the wrong move could destroy that.
Okay, let me tell you something, Jeff. Here's some personal advice for you, brother. Don't ever hide who you are from anybody. If she doesn't like the fact that you love to play games and collect games, then she's not for you, plain and simple. You can't...
Okay, but how... I totally agree. You can't change who you are or falsify that. But he doesn't have to come right out and be like the Uber game guru, right? He doesn't have to go on a date with her, like the first date or second date or wherever they're at, and be spitting out like, lines from games or telling her about the minus world.
There's etiquette, obviously, but I mean, she's going to ask, so what do you like to do in your spare time? And that's if you hide that from her, you're going to be hiding everything, and it's just going to end up in the crapper, You have to tell her who you are.
So here's one that I know I used to struggle with, and I still try to struggle with it with my wife, where I try to get her into games I think she might like, so we have, another kind of common ground. Do you guys ever have that experience where like, oh man, this person's not into games, but maybe they'll like this game because they like this kind of stuff? Have you guys ever tried to introduce somebody into gaming?
Oh man, I'm really lucky because my significant other is really like she's a gamer. She's not quite as hardcore as I'm not even that hardcore, but I mean she's not quite as into it as I am, but she tends to like a lot of the same stuff I do. My advice would be invest in a Wii U and try to get your girl playing some games with you, because there's some really fun multiplayer stuff to be had there, and that will help break the ice perhaps somewhat.
Yeah, I think you got to find... I mean, I would maybe say find out what movies that this girl likes. And if it's like sci-fi stuff, there might be some cool stuff on like Xbox One or PS4 that she could get into. Maybe she's likes the Mission Impossible, James Bond stuff, then Metal Gear could be cool. But if she's not good with hand-eye coordination, look for like a turn-based thing, right? So that you're never rushed. I don't know. Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally lucky because my girlfriend Emily knows probably more about The Legend of Zelda than anybody I've ever met. So her and I, that's what we do. We sit there and game together, and it's amazing. So I don't have that problem, luckily. But I would say, yeah, I mean, get to know your girl a bit more, and there's a game for everybody. I mean, everyone seems to like Tetris, and even, the very newer basic games like Angry Birds, Plants vs. Zombies, Candy Crush is a huge one. I mean, everybody plays that game. So just start it off with something like that, play multiplayer, and see where it goes from there.
All right, the next question comes from Mia. She says, Okay, fanboys, if you couldn't collect video games, what would you collect instead, and what would be the holy grail that you would love to have for that?
I don't
That's a
collect
good
video
question.
games.
All right,
What are you
know
on the
what?
show
You're
for?
fired from the show. You're fired.
I will say my dream guitar is something vaguely vintage in a Gibson Les Paul Standard in a tobacco burst color would be my holy grail of guitars, followed closely by the Cadillac Green Gretsch Duo Jet with gold hardware.
Golly.
Okay, Jay, what do you want to collect?
Well, I collect everything I want to, so besides games, my second passion is Star Wars, and the holy grail of my collection would be Mark Hamill himself.
Graded or ungraded?
Tied up in his basement.
No, not tied up. Just, he's got to hang out with me until I say he can go home. That's right. Is that unreasonable?
No, seriously, what would you want to collect, Jay?
That's kind of disturbing, actually.
Along the Star Wars lines, I've always wanted a prop replica of Han and Carbonite or a full-size statue of Darth Vader. Always.
You can get Han and Carbonite from Sideshow Collectibles
Yep.
for like $7,000 now.
Oh, is that it? Oh, okay.
Life size.
No problem. Where's my checkbook?
And you can put your life-size Boba Fett replica figure right next to it.
So those two, Rob, that's my answer, yeah.
I think as far as like truly attainable stuff, I would probably have to get back into Masters of the Universe and get like a boxed, mint condition, ungraded Eternia playset. I think that would be great. But if we're gonna go kind of crazy stuff, I'd probably say screen featured Jim Henson creatures. Whether it's Muppets or like stuff from the Dark Crystal. I'd love to have a Chamberlain Skeksis in my bedroom.
It's not crazy, man.
That's cool, actually.
If you want it bad enough, you'll get it.
Okay, I want a life-size Falcor in my backyard.
Why?
From Neverending Story.
Why?
Because that's what I want.
Family
what
Guy
I need.
ruined that movie for me, so sorry. All I see is Peter.
Yeah!
I just see Peter Griffin on him now.
Yeah! No, I would love to have like a Skeksis or like a replica version of Hoggle or like Ludo or something like that. I think that would be cool. Or a replica Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
I think my homeowners association might have an issue with that, but that's probably what I would do.
Very nice.
On the collecting note as well, Paul asks, how do you guys organize your collections? Alphabetical, genre? Are the rares separate? Is everything sealed? Do you guys put dust sleeves on your cartridges? Do you guys believe in shelves or stacks of games? Like, how do you guys do this? What do you think?
I organize my collection by letting Jay purchase all the games on my behalf and then figure out how to organize them.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
You organize your collection using the sort button in your digital library.
Yeah, that's right. I use the alphabet.
Yeah, okay.
And right-clicking.
Up until about 2 years ago, I had this really weird way of sorting. So I would separate all the systems. I have bookshelves, by the way. I would separate all the systems, and I would do it by release date. I don't know why I did that, but acquiring a game became quite a challenge because you have to kind of look. And I would look not just at the year it was released, but the month. So it would be month and year, so everything would be chronological like that. And then I realized it was just a little ridiculous, so I did alphabetize. Yeah, that's how I do it now. I did alphabetize. They're alphabetized. Thank you.
One of the collectors we came across in the NES Club, he actually did it by publisher. I thought that was interesting. So we had all his Capcom stuff together and all his Tato stuff.
Yeah, that was great.
Was his LJN stuff the pride of his collection?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. So he did it by publisher and then alphabetically. So all the publishers were alphabetized, and then within those subsections, they're alphabetized as well. So I think that's kind of neat, I guess.
I'm sure you're going to speak a little bit to your collection, Robin. I've never been to your house, so I can't speak to it. But what I will say is, one of these days, I'm going to take some pictures and maybe post it on the podcast page or the Facebook page. But Jay's house, for anybody who's vaguely nerdy, is something to behold. Like, I mean, it's not just a matter of organizing stuff for Jay. Like, Jay's really proud of this stuff, and he likes people to see it. So, I mean, it's something to behold just to kind of walk into the house and see how he's got his stuff laid out. And that goes for his game room as well as, like, all the Star Wars stuff. He has hanging up all over the house. Like we're going to be posting some pictures of the podcast setup just to kind of give people a feel for how we do things here. And you'll be able to see there's a gigantic Yoda statue directly to my left. There are Star Wars figures literally lining the walls like card to card, and it's really something to see.
Oh,
and they'll certainly get a good look at that when the film comes out too, right? I mean, when the film hits, they'll definitely see a lot of that stuff as we tour around. But that's cool for like the podcast audience to, see what's going on in advance. A little sneak peek for all you Gamercast listeners, if you will. So my collection, it's pretty straightforward. It's all alphabetized. I like to take the games out of the boxes and stuff. Recently, I put all my NES boxes on the wall, but they're all in protective cases. I do have all my rare boxes still sequestered into my little game closet cave thing. And then I all my carts, NES, SNES, they all have dust sleeves on them.
I'm looking at the boxes right behind you there. Your guitars are in front of them. They're not in any particular order, right? They're just kind of up?
Yeah, I have them all basically random. I wanted them all separate from one another, which is really hard because I have a lot of Capcom and Konami stuff. So I didn't want to have big chunks of the same kind of design in the right place.
Okay, I don't mean to cut you off here. I'm looking at, so there's your guitar, then I see Mario and Duck Hunt box, and that's highlighted beside it. What's the one after highlight? What is that? Looks like Mario and Luigi on it.
That's a Super Mario Brothers 2 box for the Japanese release.
Oh, sweet, and it's in black box style. That's cool, man. I've never seen that.
Yeah, so it's just a replica box for like the Lost levels.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I've got a few ones. I was gonna say I got a few of them. I got the Angry Video Game Nerd NES box way at the top. I got our NES Club
Cheers.
one. I've got a Devil World box.
Awesome.
I got a few of them. So all the Final Fantasy 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 as well. So, but yeah, I like to keep all my rare stuff separate. I think a lot of collectors like to feature their pieces. I know Jay's Star Wars stuff is kind of organized like that, and a few of his game things are sequestered as well. Did you guys have any other thoughts for? I don't know these people. Any other questions that you're looking to get from everyone?
I don't think so. As we go, or as we draw closer to the release of the film, it's harder and harder for me to keep tight-lipped about things, man. I want to talk about this fantastic journey so bad. It's just, I get questions all the time from people, asking me, did you get this game? Did you get that game? Guys, I would love to tell you, just, a few short months away. Hopefully, Rob will be done the film, and then we can talk about it openly. But until then, I can't mention any of that stuff. So, sorry.
Sorry, buddy. Even then, I'm going to have to tell you no.
Yeah.
Once because we can't, so it premieres, then we tell the world, because there's going to be so many people that haven't seen it. So, the best chance for people to talk to you, honestly, is going to be, at the Q&A sessions after the screenings, or at panels and stuff, if they know. But definitely, they're going to discourage social media acknowledgments of stuff. Still, what do you think, Glenn?
On my side, I would just say that I think it's awesome that we're seeing all these questions. I think it's awesome that we're getting the feedback, and I appreciate all the kind words that we're seeing. And, we are still relatively new to this. I mean, for me, as the guy kind of managing the technical side of this and sort of making this thing listenable and hopefully entertaining for people, I'm still a relative rookie at this, so I love having the feedback. It's great to hear what people are enjoying about it and ways they think we might be able to make it better. And it's great to have a community kind of interacting with us about it too. It's been really rewarding. I guess the other thing I'm trying to do is just to give people a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, so to speak. So I have been kind of sharing some Facebook posts about just what my setup is in terms of how we actually do the podcast and how we work the mechanics, and just giving you a sense of what it's like to actually be in the room with us while we're kind of working on this. And I think that's kind of neat stuff to share with people. But I know we've also talked about doing some bigger audio projects, and I don't want to give too much away there, but I'm really excited about some of the stuff we've been talking about doing behind the scenes here as well.
Yeah, I just want to say before we quit here that we really do have the best fans here at the NES Club. I love all you guys, and thanks again for the support.
It's going to be cool as we ramp up towards the film, especially if we can get some of these other audio projects in tandem with our ongoing Gamercast to happen. It's a lot to undertake, but it's all fun, and all these guys writing questions are the reasons why we want to take on these extra projects. So even as we approach summer and weather gets good, and video game time might go down because we're outside a bit more, we're really enjoying where things are going. So looking forward to that, and we will, talk to you next time from the Gamercast. Rob McCallum, Jay Bartlett, of course.
Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you next time.
And Glenn Stanway.
Thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you soon.